Welcome to the struggle. All right, we'll do this one more. All right.
From Buffalo, New York, it's the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast.
Welcome to the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast, your backstage pass for what is and is not happening in the Buffalo music scene. After talking to our last guest, Mr. Elliot Jacobson, for a little while, I found that I am within 4 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
Which makes me 5 degrees separated from Kevin Bacon.
Cassidy Dwan?
We've won the game.
Yes, we have.
I wish there was a backstage. You said the backstage pass, and I was like,
There is.
stages.
Give it time. We're getting there.
Have
we'll
we
talk
saved
about
the
that
stages?
later.
Yeah, right.
So on episode number 74 of the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast, Cassidy and I will be talking with sound engineer Fred Betschen. Fred has been a sound engineer since the 1980s when he worked with Buffalo legends like Mark Freeland, and today is an engineer at GCR Audio and Select Sounds in Kenmore. We're going to talk about some of the weird projects he's worked on in the past, how he got his start, some tips he has for musicians going into the studio for the first time, and we're also going to be playing music from Steve Balesteri, Evan Anstey, and JayBandz.
Hooray.
But first, shows again!
Yay!
So, Struggling Productions, I got to kind of frame it. I got my COVID vaccine last Wednesday.
Right.
So, basically, with the way that everything's scheduled out, I think April 8th will be my first day completely vaccinated. I've got a big smile on my face talking about that.
Perfect.
So, I'm going to be doing, my first show will be back at Milky's on April 16th. I mean, my first incidental music happening with food and people.
It's all happening.
But Brookhaven's playing. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're a cool kind of like emo hardcore band kind of from North Tonawanda. You've got them coming in. They're bringing a few of their own openers in. So I think that'll be a real a ruckus night to get back into things.
So what are we talking about? $1 at the door?
No, we still can't charge a cover.
That's not allowed. It's illegal.
Rules have changed for, I think, like 94 different area bars, but Milky's is not one of them.
Good to know.
The capacity numbers have changed from 25% to 33%.
Okay.
For me, at least, for Milky's, that's like 4 or 5 people, just because you can only have so many tables when they have to be 6 feet apart.
Exactly.
But I think that's good to see, and I think some of the bigger venues, that'll work even better for them.
Right.
So we're coming out of it. I honestly, we're recording this on May 5th, so even 6 weeks away from now, I think we could be seeing some lessened rules and guidelines, hopefully, if people start getting a little bit better, and we can all be responsible.
Spring can spring us all loose.
I hope it's going to happen. I don't want to get too excited. And then also, I got hired to book at Witter's in North Tonawanda. It is at 300 Oliver Street.
What is the room like?
It's a nice room. It's a sports bar, basically. Okay. A new owner took over about 2 months ago. So the way the place is set up is... there's a dining room in the back, and there's a bar in the front. Okay. The dining room in the back has kind of an area on the right back side that's kind of raised above the rest of it, and that'll be where we set up the stage. And then the rest of that room can fit about 35 people right now, but will fit about 70 people once COVID guidelines are lifted, and the bar can hold 15 now, but it'll hold 30 once guidelines are lifted. Right. So at least for right now, they just want people in there eating food, so we're not going to do any cover charge for at least, it looks like, the first couple months.
I think an opportunity to go out and support local music and not have that,
Yeah, absolutely.
A blessing.
If that sounds interesting to you, I don't know their URL off the top of my head, but find it on Google. You can make reservations for any of the upcoming Saturdays. We will have, I'll have them listed somewhere in the near future.
So far, live music at Witter's on Saturdays?
Yep, Saturdays, 7 to 10, no cover.
Cool.
So if you can just, if you want.
And like bar food?
Yeah, even better than bar food. I mean, they had like chicken parm. They had a nice, it was a barbecue bacon chicken sandwich. I had some wings. So I think it's bar food and like a little more than that.
Cool.
And it's a really nice place. And for not charging a cover, we're actually able to pay the bands pretty well, which that excites me all the time.
Right.
So it's a lot of cover. We got a decent amount of covers in there, but then we also have like Grace Stumberg coming in. Genesis and his crew's going to be coming in to do a hip hop and R&B show. The aforementioned Brookhaven's doing a show there as well. So we're kind of
I think as we speak, it's Grace's birthday. So if the podcast, we'll just wish her a little happy birthday.
Wait, who?
Grace Stumberg's birthday.
Oh,
it is.
Happy birthday, Grace Stumberg.
We'll just clap for her.
I like it.
I'm glad she's alive. She's very talented.
Yes, I enjoy her very much. So they're all coming, so I'll have a schedule out. I'm hoping the Struggling Productions Facebook page will have some Facebook events up as well. But I'm really excited about it. First, I got to buy a PA, and first I have to convince an owner to let me spend money on a PA, which is the big next step. But I mean, I have one more March date to fill, and then we're booked until June.
That's
and
great.
Even the June dates are starting to get eaten up. Like, I stopped actively looking for stuff when I filled up the end of May, and I'm now just getting approached by more and more people.
Perfect.
So,
that's exactly where you want to sit.
Absolutely. So,
and congratulations for emerging from your COVIDity, because I know that cocoon of COVIDity was hard for you. As it is for everyone, but especially without that.
I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Couldn't do my stuff. So, so that's really exciting. So, we're going to get to our interview with Fred next. First, I got this song, someone just randomly reached out to me and was like, how do I get on your podcast? And I'm like, well, tell me about yourself. And they told me their story, and I kind of ended up telling them that. I'm like, I think you're a little too early in your journey. Like, you know what, you should play some shows and get a little experience, and then you'll have those weird-ass concert stories that we love so much on this podcast.
Right.
So, but he ended up sending me one of his songs, and I thought his story was compelling. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know all the details. His name is JayBandz, and he is 20. He's been in prison for the last 4 years and just got out on parole.
So 16 to 20 in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to judge the morality of anything that happened in that, but I like giving people second chances when they can, because I like to think most people deserve it.
I like giving kids who make foolish mistakes second and third chances.
Absolutely.
16 sounds really young to me.
I did some stupid shit at 16 that I could have very well gotten arrested for.
Not even knowing what the stupid shit is, I can just tell you.
Exactly. So you know, so a lot of times I get people just send me stuff, and sometimes you get stuff from like a young rapper and you hear it and you're like, but I really like this guy. I like his flow. You know, there's still some stuff that needs to be worked on. It's still raw, but I just
watched the Biggie Smalls documentary, so you're catching me like straight up thick.
Next episode we have to talk about music movies now, because I keep seeing them and like I have a pile of shit I want to talk about right now.
Right.
Not shit, good stuff, but you get it. So this is what I believe it's kind of his first single. It's called Same Man.
Cool.
So check it out, and then we'll be right back with Fred Betschen here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast on WesternNewYorkMusic.com.
It's on the beat.
Foreign car, it goes so fast, I dress the best, just check my swag. Money on me, I got to a bag, I remember being broke, that shit felt sad. Who helped me out? I could say a few names, whoever didn't. Can't be on my team, we money hungry, that's the number one thing. Can't fall in love, that's the root of all evil. Foreign car, it goes so fast, I dress the best, just check my swag. Money on me, I got to a bag, I remember being broke, that shit felt sad. Who helped me out? I could say a few names, whoever didn't. Can't be on my team, we money hungry, that's the number one thing. Can't fall in love, that's the root of all evil. Had to get in my bag, switching my swag, can't switch who I am, I'm still the same man. Still the same man, we cannot shake hands. If you not G, baby, nigga, you ain't my friend. You ain't my homie, you ain't my king. Toes spinning down all the way up to 10. I don't beef over hoes, that money just send it. I love heavy chains that come with big pennies. They hang down my neck, nigga, bitch, when you wet, nigga, don't get offended. Why you upset? If you ask me a question, I might not answer, nigga, mind your business, that's your very best bet. In a fast car like a NASCAR, I'm a superstar with this brick on my arm. Fuck the fame, fuck the chains. I just want money, it's replacing the pain. I've been through too much, man, I don't wanna talk. If you make the wrong move, my dog gon' bark. 4-4 bullets gon' spark, that bitch got sense, so I use in the dark. I stay with the strap, stay with some pack, stay on some racks to live out the trap. I don't through relations, I'm all in my bag. If I lost one thing, then it's not meant to have. Foreign car, it goes so fast, I dress the best, just check my swag. Money on me, I got to a bag, I remember being broke, that shit felt sad. Who helped me out? I could say a few names, whoever didn't. Can't be on my team, we money hungry, that's the number one thing. Can't fall in love, that's the root of all evil. Foreign car, it goes so fast, I dress the best, just check my swag. Money on me, I got to a bag, I remember being broke, that shit felt sad. Who helped me out? I could say a few names, whoever didn't. Can't be on my team, we money hungry, that's the number one thing. Can't fall in love, that's the root of all evil. I've been chasing that money, chasing that guap, not chasing no top, but the number one spot. I don't wanna fuck, but I might want top. I've been through the desert, I've been through the drought, had to run it up, had to cut up the fake cause ain't one of us, had to run up them bands and they part of us. Me, G baby, that's my blood brother and he strapped like the Navy. I don't want your time, no I can't be okay, put them blues up, for them days that get rainy, I'm always working, I can never get lazy, I was fucked up, but them times when you changing, I pray to God, that's the minute I'm praising. Judgment coming this world and he fading, can't trust somebody cause they full of that hatred. Foreign car, it goes so fast, I dress the best, just check my swag. Money on me, I got to a bag, I remember being broke, that shit felt sad. Who helped me out? I could say a few names, whoever didn't. Can't be on my team, we money hungry, that's the number one thing. Can't fall in love, that's the root of all evil.
And we are back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast on westernnewyorkmusic.com. That was Same Man by JayBandz. And we are now joined by Fred, it's Betschen? Betschen, all right. I like that.
Think of it as bitchin' only with an E, and you'll get it right every time.
I was going to say, just like that. Yeah.
So, Fred, you've been an audio engineer in the area for 35-ish
37?
years?
Started in 1984.
Awesome.
Yes.
So,
I was -2 that year.
I was 2 that year.
Cool, dude.
Wow. Thanks for making me the oldest guy in the room.
I'm usually the oldest guy in the room, so that makes me feel
That was
better.
a whole different wave of recording.
Absolutely. So now, did you start on 2-inch reel, or were you guys doing ADAT then?
No, it was way before ADAT. So ADAT was a 90s invention.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Pretty much late 80s, early 90s, I believe. So we were 2-inch, 24 track, console, 36 inputs, all Neve EQs and preamps.
Get a chill down my spine just thinking about it.
But logistically, it's a whole different world when you're working with 24 tracks, and that's your limitation. There isn't this infinite amount that you can create as many things as you want to.
So, wow. I did 16 tracks on 2-inch reel. I didn't know you could do 24 like that.
16 was actually a preferred format because the head gap is larger, so there's more detail going to the tape in the first place.
Oh, wow.
24 was a compromise for quality, but 8 more tracks. Think about it back then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
16 is quite a limitation. But then again, Abbey Road, or Sgt. Pepper's was done on a 4-track.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's all about using what you got, and that it just made a whole different approach to recording because you were always mapping out what you were going to do because you were going to have a limitation. You were going to run out.
Yep.
So how are you going to make best use of what you have?
Yep. You only had like 2 reverb tanks. You only had 2 compressors.
Yeah, right.
You had to figure out what was going where.
So you'd always track with a lot of those things. If you were ready to commit to an EQ or a compressor, you'd do it right from the get-go because you only have so many to use. And then coming back through, you could use them when you mixed on different channels.
Sure. Makes me warm and fuzzy to talk about 2-inch reel recording. So, what was the first studio in Buffalo you worked at after you graduated?
Mark Custom Recording in Clarence.
Okay.
They've been around since 1962. Started off as educational recordings. The original owner, Vince Moret, was a school band director, and he started recording his band's rehearsals every day, and then taking the tapes home and listening to it and getting a totally different objective opinion about what the band sounded like when he wasn't buried in the score and conducting and leading the group, and using the recording as an assessment tool. So as he did that more and more, his band got better and better because he had great ideas for suggestions. So other band directors noticed that this guy was making these huge improvements with his band. They're like, how are you doing it, Vince? Well, I've been recording my band, and then I take it home. Well, will you come over and record our band? Will you come over and record our band? And then that's how the whole business grew. So it started as this little tiny operation with a 2-track recorder.
That's awesome.
And it grew into a big facility where Spyro Gyra did their first album there, Talus did their first album, Rick James did his first album there. Yeah, so a lot of big groups recorded at that studio. I mean, at the time, when I came on in '84, there were only 3 24-track studios in Buffalo.
Oh, sure.
Mark Custom Recording, Select Sound in
Kenmore?
In Kenmore on Elmwood, and what was that at the time, Trackmaster, which has since become GCR.
Wow.
So do you think that in and of itself is a unique quality in Buffalo? Just the idea that of that time you had those recording studios?
Well, that time was so unique, but I think it might be parallel to any other city too, because really, as a musician in any town, you're at the mercy of the facilities that are available to you in that town.
Yeah.
And in this case, if you wanted to go and get a professional recording, you had to go to one of these three places. I mean, there was a 16-track place, there were a couple of 8-tracks, and a lot of them did really good work. But if you wanted to go full on, there were only a couple to choose from. So at that time, it's like the studio had the market.
I think I say it in a compare and contrast to all of the home recording and audio engineering happening now, you know?
Right. That's just it. The revolution came, like you were asking me before, about ADATs. When the digital revolution came and it became an affordable thing to put it in your home, in your basement, your garage, whatever, then you didn't have to go to one of these studios. So the funny thing is the rates now, the equipment's better in many ways, but the rates have never gone up. Yeah. Because in many ways, they're actually lower now than they used to be then, because now, why do I want to go pay a studio this amount of money when I can go to my friend Joe's place? He's got Pro Tools in his basement, and if Joe knows what he's doing, Joe can make a nice recording.
Sure.
You know, and it doesn't take that much of an investment now. Back then, you'd have to buy a $100,000, $150,000 console, a $30,000 tape machine, let alone the structure of the studio itself, maintenance, all that stuff. It all adds up quickly. So it's a different world from a basement studio to a production studio still today.
Sure.
But
it's a lot closer.
It's so much closer. You can do great things. I mean, I have a mixing facility in my basement too. You know, and that's where I do all my work. And I could go and do it at another studio, but why?
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have the tools that I need to do what I need to do.
So that actually brings me to something I kind of want to talk about, which. So, you know, you hear a lot of stuff from studios. You hear a lot of stuff that aren't from studios.
Yes.
I think for bands on a budget, a really great idea is doing as much of the recording you can and then sending it to someone for you just for mixing. Now, if someone does all the work themselves, they get their clean signals. That's something you can do at your own facility, too.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, it's funny. I actually just did that recently for a young guy. Wrote one song, it's really poppy, but really well written.
Sure.
But he just used like a loop drum from a garage band kind of thing just as a thing to get it started. And then he built all his piano tracks, the layers and layers of vocals, guitars, everything at home. And then he hired me to go to GCR to track drums. So he did, because he doesn't have the facility to do drums at home. There's no way he could have done that.
Yeah.
So we replaced the temporary drum track that he had, and then I took it home and mixed it.
Awesome.
And it's nice that you can piece the baby together like that.
That's just it. Well, it's funny though, because actually when I finished mixing it, I'm like, you know what? The bass line you kind of gave me wasn't really happening. It's not working, and we're so close. This thing sounds great now. What can we? Do you have budget to get a bass? So we're lined up to do a bass session in next week.
Nice.
So these things grow. But yeah, absolutely. Someone can do all the tracks. And the great part about that is they can do it in the comfort of their own home where they don't get red light fever. Where I'm recording, I paid money for this, I'm getting really nervous.
You get nervous and you get faster.
Everything gets sloppy. You tend to accept things that you wouldn't accept if you'd taken the time, listen to it again, decided, the more I listen to that, the less I like it. I want to do that part over.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, those kind of things you can do at home. And that's the beauty of mixing at home, too, is because I can work on one song for an hour and then just forget about it for a day. Come back and pick it up the next day and go, oh, I love what I did with this, but what the hell was I thinking when I did that? You know, and if we're doing a 4-hour dedicated, this is when we're going to mix this song, that's all, you just build, then you're done. You hand them a project, they walk out the door. I like to kind of sit on it, think about it, digest it, play it here, play it there, check your mood, and don't schedule the time you're going to be creative. When you're feeling creative, go work. If you're not feeling creative, why bother?
Absolutely.
But that's the only thing you can do when you work for yourself. If you're working for somebody, you're on a clock. You're on a clock, and you got to do what you got to do.
Sure. So, but yeah, no, I think with people doing the amount of home recordings I'm doing, they sound good. I think they're doing a good job. But
Absolutely.
Kind of my example is I had a friend who got he was working at this. It's like an $85 an hour commercial studio up in Albany called I want the name and I don't remember it. Something Hill. Anyway, my friend became an engineer there and he got a discounted rate. So we went to this $85 an hour studio. We did 4 songs there. The songs sounded great.
Right.
Then we did 4 songs at my college that I was working at, which a nice, like not a bad place by any means.
Sure.
But then we took all 8 tracks and gave it to the same guy to mix, and they sounded, you couldn't tell the difference. So that might not be how it works for everything, but when you have a cohesive mixer working on everything like that,
it's like, what are you paying for? Are you paying for this professional's ear?
Yes.
And attention just from their ear? Because I think it is.
That's absolutely what it is. Put it this way. If you want to give a Stradivarius violin, the finest instrument made, to a beginner player.
Yeah, give that to me.
They put it to a beginner. It's going to sound like
squeakity squeak.
It's going to sound horrible. You can give a toy fiddle to a virtuoso, and they can make it sound good.
Oh.
So it's all about the ability, the talent, the thing. So, like I said, with Sgt. Pepper being done on a 4-track, the limitations it took brilliance to get what they got out of that. George Martin and Jeff Emmerich and the engineers at EMI were incredible, and they found ways to do things that no one had done before. And I salute that to this very day regularly.
So you are an engineer at GCR. How long have you been working with them? So
I started kind of freelancing in 2016 myself, and in 2019, I don't know if you know Brian Federick. He's the studio manager over there. He reached out to me because he'd seen, we'd stayed friends over the years because I'd worked with him on a project many, many years ago. And he reached out to me because he'd seen that I was like kind of freelancing. He goes, would you be interested at freelancing at GCR? I'm like, what, am I interested?
Yeah, seriously.
Wait a minute. Yeah. So we worked out a deal and I started doing sessions there in May of 2019. But I didn't become officially staff member until first of the year this year.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that on your Facebook page right after we worked together with Struggle Is Real editor John Galbo, aka Newspeak.
Oh yes,
I got to be the bass drum holder. That was. I'd say that was the weirdest thing I've ever done recording-wise.
That bass drum sounded good.
Yeah, it did. But I did some weird shit in college, so it doesn't quite meet that.
If you didn't do weird shit in college, what were you doing there?
Oh, yeah. You get that recording studio at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, like, a vacuum becomes an instrument. I have a recording of myself just diving through, it's probably like 12 cymbal stands, just to see. We ended a song with it just because college.
Oh, my.
College. Right, Cassidy?
I was there. I think I was there.
You kind of remember.
Something like that.
It happened.
So, now, I know you've worked, how long have you been working with Select Sounds in Kenmore then, freelancing there?
So, 2016 pretty much. And in 2018, actually, I started teaching their recording technologies program. It's oh,
I didn't know they had that.
Yes, they do, but it's only offered if they get enough interest in it. It's something they had really pushed hard back in like the 90s, advertised in the paper when that was still a thing. And they would have 12 students for 3 semesters a year straight through. Oof. But they gotten it down to where it's only like a handful of like 5 students.
Yeah.
And it's only once every couple years where they get, because there's now so much availability of information, I think, on YouTube and whatnot. I mean, I could learn to be an engineer, quote unquote, on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Right now. How to do anything is out there. It's just a matter of if you are willing to get in there and get somewhere where you can apply it. Learn and talk and ask questions as opposed to just listening to what they're preaching to you.
Absolutely.
But have your questions answered.
And it doesn't even seem like the right way to learn that type of craft,
No.
No.
If you're sight unseen with someone, you can say, reaching over, I'm going to drive now, kid. There's a better way to learn by doing, than I'm going to watch the tutorial, I'm going to repeat the tutorial.
Absolutely. The best teacher of all is failure.
Oh, without question.
When you do something and you do it wrong, you learn you don't do it that way anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And if you keep doing it that way, you probably need to find a new career.
So as far as your own recording craft, did you have someone that you learned from?
Well, I mean, I went to school for it.
Right.
So I will give my first teacher, Dave Moulton, was our audio guru at Fredonia, and he was just the fantastic person, the most laid back, chill, cool dude ever, and knew everything about audio, and could teach, could communicate to people easily. And he was my initial guru. Beyond that, Vince Moret, who hired me at Mark Recording, was probably my first guy in the professional world. And then at the same time, this was when vinyl was still a thing. They had a vinyl mastering lathe, cutting lathe.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, right across the hall from the studio to cut the master vinyl. So the guy that ran that was named Bob Grotke. He's now at Cornell University Ornithology Department, which is kind of strange, but actually running audio for birds.
Someone's got to do it.
That's another strange story, but that man
sounds
was
relaxing.
brilliant.
Yeah,
that man
very
was
marketable in the Calm app market.
Yeah,
right?
you think?
Little bird noises.
Bird noises, yeah.
Love it. Or like Smithsonian Folkway recordings. How they have everything cataloged for everything ever.
Yes, well, Cornell does the Peterson Field Guide to birds. And it's, at the time when I was working at Mark Recording, we were actually doing their cassette duplication. And they had to spec out special cassettes because the high frequency nature of the birds would saturate and destroy the recording. It wouldn't sound like a bird anymore. It's like someone banging on a microphone. But so they had to get the best spec decks. They had 150 Nakamichi 3-head cassette decks that were at the time $200 a piece, which is a lot of money to spend for a cassette deck.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe they were $250, $300. They were a lot. Anyways, real-time cassette duplication of birds. That was actually the first thing I did at my internship when I started working at this place, was put cassette labels on these bird cassettes.
Wow.
For days.
Outside of the
That
box.
makes me feel. I had an internship that I just filed. I did a whole lot of filing, and it was kind of awful. And
filing of what?
Contracts.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
They were called Ted Kurland Associates. They were one of the oldest jazz booking agencies in the country. They had Miles Davis. They had Nina Simone died right before I got in there, and they were like, "Whoa, you can file fast?" And I'm like, "You've been watching me file?" And then they're like, "Well, I think you need to archive any contract that's older than 2 years for this place that's been around for like 30, 35 years.
You shouldn't have shown them your hidden talent for filing.
I was supposed to learn skills that I could take places and do things with. Instead, I just ended up with cut up cuticles and like one token job interview where I came in for the second job interview and they're like, "Oh, well, if we knew you came in before, we wouldn't have called you." And it's like, "Oh, thanks."
Well, you learned so much from that experience.
Yes, that's what I learned is that I need to offer internships to college students so they don't have to go through that nonsense.
Your interns get to do cool things.
Yes, they do.
Yes, I always try to make internship programs fun.
Yes.
And get the person wanting to do what we do.
The tangible experience of it.
Right. I mean, I started as an intern. So I actually was lucky at the end of my internship, 5 people were leaving to go to Trackmaster from Mark Recording, and I was just trained. And I was the same age as the owner's son, and we were hanging out, we were best buddies. I had a job. I didn't have to even hand out a resume, look for a job. They handed me the job 3 weeks before I graduated from college.
Right place, right time.
Everything.
I always suggest when there's stuff musically happening in the city, get out to as much as you can, because you never know what that place is going to be where you might meet that person who's interested in what you're doing. Yeah. And I think that's just another great example. I think some of us who get to do things we really love sometimes it's luck that gets you there, because sometimes you can just end up being that creepy guy in his basement who's just recording his neighbors.
Well, there's luck, and there's also you putting yourself in a position to be successful too.
Absolutely.
And by your choices and by your work ethic. And my father was a very strong working person. He was a band director, and he had his fingers in a lot of pies, and was always working. But always was an encouraging teacher. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You got to do that.
Yeah.
Do you have nostalgia for the analog recording technologies? Do you feel
That's a great question. There's a little part of me that does. I mean, there's so many. I still like the hybrid model we're at now, where the recording and editing system is digital, but all the front end is analog. So I'm still coming through great consoles and mic preamps and outboard analog gear, and just capturing it in a digital world. Because here's the thing: what is the delivery medium 99.9% of the time? Some kind of a digital format.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whether it's
car,
streaming, whatever.
Right.
It's very rarely of like vinyl.
Right.
That's about the only analog form that's a thing. Someone said cassettes are trying to make a comeback. I can't see that working out too well.
I've seen bands with cassettes at their merch tables.
I think it's more, but I think that's just more of as a novelty than really. I mean, how many cassette decks are you finding in dashboards of cars these days?
I'm not even finding CDs. I was going to say that. I'm not even finding CDs anymore. Yeah. I miss my CD player.
My car, actually, because it has a CD player in it.
I actually
hang on to it as long as I can.
If you look to your right, just for converting stuff for WesternNewYorkMusic.com, I actually bought the sound system I always wanted from when I was 16 with the 25 disc changer. We're going to go random and have a party one of these days.
You want to? I don't. This is too tangential. But maybe it isn't.
No, never is on this podcast.
The 25 disc changer, by the way, the multi-disc CD changer is what created the horrible audio anomaly called volume wars. Are you familiar with it?
No, actually.
Okay, so when CDs first came out, the whole big claim to love of a CD is this giant dynamic range.
Sure.
From its quietest to its loudest. And the big thing they wanted to do with CDs, well, two things, were to be able to do classical music, which has the biggest dynamic range of any music, and to make the CDs long enough that it could hold an entire symphony.
Sure.
So that was the whole design behind CDs. And the thing is, it was beautiful because you could put your CD in, you'd turn it up to whatever volume you liked it, and you had this huge dynamic range of quiet and clean. Hello. That was, whereas before everything you were dropping a needle on a vinyl here, and
yep.
With classical, it doesn't work so well.
Right.
You know what I mean? So long story short, when the multi-disc changer came out, and people would have, and random shuffle mode came on, and you had it loaded up with all these rock songs for your party. Some songs would come on louder than others.
I got it.
And what were the best ones? All the hard rockers wanted to be the loudest ones in the CD player.
No.
So what happens is the digital zero is still your top volume that you can put onto a CD.
Sure.
You can't put anything on it. Anything beyond that's just clip, and it actually doesn't go anywhere. It's just like a brick wall.
Sure.
Okay, so only way to make things louder is to compress your dynamic range. So the apparent level of everything is louder. So you had this big dynamic range, it's going away, and it's going away. And that's because of a multi-disc changer. No one wanted to be the quiet CD in the CD player.
Right.
To the point where
honestly, that feels how it works with bands and venues still.
Well,
every rock band wants to be the loudest band.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's part of being rock and roll. And I get that. But
which is fine when you're in the band, but not when you're organizing the show. That's all.
Yeah. The worst example, I think, of volume wars was the Metallica Death Magnetic record. That was a Rick Rubin production, and their idea was, we are going to make the loudest CD ever made. And they succeeded. There was zero dynamic. I mean, if you look at the meters when that song's playing, the song starts, and it's just a block of solid. It doesn't move, no up and down, doesn't even fluctuate, not even like a little bit of flutter.
Wow.
It's just, and then there's a break in the song, it drops, right back up again. It is crazy, but it sounds like crap. It's But here's the funny part, and this is how you know volume wars are what destroyed audio on CDs. The Guitar Hero games that came out.
Oh yeah.
So they had the stems. They had the drum part separated from the guitar, so it wasn't all mastered. Because that was all done in mastering, where they brickwalled it like that.
Sure.
This was all unmastered stems. You actually sounded better playing Guitar Hero Death Magnetic than if you bought the freaking CD.
Oh.
Truth.
I believe that about every Metallica record. I'm just going to come out and say it. So So you've worked with a ton of people. Mark Freeland is someone who's come up recently because Buffalo Infringement Festival has the Mark Freeland coloring book, which listeners you can now find at Cool Beat Music in Cheektowaga, Rust Belt Books in Buffalo. Oh God, I can figure out the rest of them. Burning Books, Revolution Gallery, and Gutter Pop on Hurdle, which is a bookstore that got moved from Elmwood up to Hurdle. It's really cool. It's right next to him. So what was it like working with Mark Freeland?
Well, it's funny. I didn't work with him as much as I worked with people that were working with Mark, so I was around Mark while they were working with him.
So you were within 1 degree of Mark Freeland.
I was within... I was separate. So I told you, as I was interning at Mark Custom Recording, the other guys that ended up all going up to Trackmaster, they were working with Mark. So I was getting my training. I was just sitting in on sessions while they were working with Mark. So it was extremely educational.
Probably even better to be a fly on the wall.
Oh yes. Yeah, to not have to do work.
Oh yeah, try to take it all in because I mean he's a genius in so many ways and such a character that he would draw you in. I mean his charisma was crazy, right? So, but the way he went about music was so different than anything I was so used to. Of course, everything was kind of new to me at that time. Sure. Because I was just getting in the biz, but it was really just like eye-opening.
So like what made it so different for you?
I was just like it wasn't the band dynamic that I was used to where the guys were bouncing off their parts and deciding what to do. It was pretty much Mark knew what he wanted to do.
Sure.
He told his guys what to do and then he let them do whatever they wanted to do and then he made it all work in the end. And it's just I don't know, it was just kind of
seems like a circus.
It was like a circus, but it was like a controlled circus because you always had a vision of what it was going to be at the end. So there was like a controlled circus.
A Zappa-esque circus.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
That's as good as a comparison as I can think of, actually. Yeah.
We need to have just like an always running Zappa-esque band in Buffalo all the time. We haven't had one for a few years now. We've got to bring that back. We should always have at least one of those. It's all about
that charismatic frontman, though. Like, you need that energy, and I don't know.
I mean, I could do that. Right. Zappa couldn't sing.
No. He didn't really need to.
Yeah.
He could sing with his fingers, and he could tell a story, and he would just look you in the eye and keep that straight face.
The clever is the capital.
Yeah. You do it. You have to have a smart writer. I'm going to work on that. I'll talk to some people. I'll have them contact.
Not to insult you. Your banter is very comical.
You don't know how high I can fly, Cassidy. So who else have you worked with?
Do you have favorite projects?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's funny because a lot of my favorite projects are probably going to be bands you've never heard of. You know what I mean? Where they wrote a particular song that was just like, There was a band called Kama Sutra that, Grand Island, I want to say. Maybe Lewiston area. Anthony Aversa is a guitar player. And I'm trying to remember the name of the vocalist. She was wonderful. But they did this really just haunting song about this op hair. And, it was like... and we got freakish with it, and it was kind of it was definitely an indie rock, because this would have been early 90s.
Okay.
Analog days.
Sure.
On 24.
Nice. So kind of like Sonic Youthy almost?
Oh, no, it's a little darker, I would say.
Ooh.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. See, and again, I wish there were better archive of early Buffalo music. Ryan Gurnett, as we talked about.
Well, I've got that right. I mean, I kept a lot of the stuff I worked on that I really love.
If you want to bring any of it over here for digitization, I'll get it up on westernnewyorkmusic.com, and everyone can hear it forever.
I have a lot of actually interesting Western New York music.
Yeah,
that's probably pretty unique.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for anything I can get right now. I actually joined it took me like 2 weeks to get them to let me join. It's an 80s like hair metal Buffalo group, and I'm like, I'm in. The guy to ask me questions. I needed a phone call. Like he full on screened me to Jake. He's like, "You're not in an '80s band," and I'm like,
"But I want to be."
Yeah, I wish I was.
Oh.
So along the same vein of projects that in your memory stand out.
Yes.
Ever do anything really silly? Like ever record a jingle that was just ridiculous, or what kind of? I know, right? It's hard to pinpoint.
No, it's just that I've literally done so much different kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've done books. I've done...
I guess I mean, like, the obscure things. Did anyone ever ask you to record anything really strange? Like a project that was...
Oh, gosh, let me think.
Notably strange.
I'm sure. I did have to do some alpine horns. They're like these big things that are literally...
I heard porns real quick when I was
going. It looks like a big Viking tube, and it's on one end of the room, and a big horn.
I'm thinking about the Ricola commercials. Are those the Ricolas?
Like a Ricola. Exactly, yeah.
I know about
Alpine horn projects, yeah. I've done a lot of polka. And polka is...
All right.
Oh.
It's not my favorite genre, except for on the days that I'm working with polka, because you better... love what you're doing.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna kill someone.
I feel like you have to be in a good mood. You need to be well rested. I feel like if you're like tired and hungover, I think polka. Yeah,
you're
not
like,
so much.
Who stole the quiche? I stole the quiche.
Oh, good God. What were your other famous favorite projects?
Actually, one of the heaviest projects I worked on was a band called Zero Tolerance. The drummer is Pfeiffer, who ended up...
Darren Pfeiffer.
Darren played with Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Zero Tolerance. Okay, so they were like a hardcore band. This is the early days, like 90, 91.
Yeah.
And at that point, the hair metal of the 80s that we were just talking about was about being killed by the grunge movement and Nirvana and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Killed all the hair metal, and also killed a lot of the pop synthy stuff that was happening in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I'd about grown out of that at that point.
Yeah. Those synths.
Though I had a project that was on the verge. It was like they were like Mr. and they were on the verge of being really big, and they were late. We were late. If we'd finished that album, 5 months earlier before all that grunge stuff came out, I think I would have had a big hit record with that. But anyways, this band Zero Tolerance with Darren playing drums came in, and they looked like the local college volleyball team, all clean cut, good looking guys. They brought in their instruments. I'm expecting them to play like surfer music, and this was the most shredding, ripping bass. And it tore my face off, and I loved it. And they'd actually given me a couple CDs of stuff. They said, "This is what we want to sound like," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." So it gave me a avenue, and I learned a new genre of music, and it became also. And then that particular recording did really well on the local hardcore metal scene.
Oh, I bet.
And as a result of it, all their bands came. And Snapcase, I don't know if you've heard of them.
Oh yeah.
They came and I record with me. Envy. What are there? So many. There are all these hardcore bands coming out of the woodwork. Would work with me because I'd done the Zero Tolerance record.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then after I did Snapcase, all these other bands came out because I did Snapcase.
Yeah.
Brothers Keeper from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
A lot of that kind of stuff. So it got to be my niche, which I never saw myself being a niche guy. I mean, I was brought up in a classical household, but with an older brother who loved rock. And first job at Mark Recording, I did almost so much jazz. It was like proportionately way more jazz than any other kind of thing I was doing, because that's what the original owner was all about. So I didn't ever think I was going to find myself as being the metal guy.
Right.
But I didn't mind it.
Sure.
It's a whole different set of challenges.
You said your father was a band leader?
Yeah, I was a band director in Elmira, New York.
Okay.
And so he had me playing French horn and drums when I was still in grade school. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But you were around that then?
I was around that all the time.
Right.
All the time, which was great.
I have this strange wish I was born in like the dance hall era of Buffalo with the big bands and I mean, it just seems awesome to have a ballroom of and
that's what you're dancing to instead of a DJ.
Dude,
you're dancing to a big band playing.
I can't even imagine.
Right?
Oh,
totally
man.
different energy. Nothing against DJs,
I think a big band is just about better than just about anything I can think of, to be honest.
And I've done a fair amount of those.
If they weren't so big, I'd actually want to assemble them.
There was, I saw in a documentary, obviously this is well before my time, but the Crystal Boat the Crystal Beach boat, the ferry that used to go across, and how they had like a no jitterbugging rule on the boat because the dance floor would tip the boat. I thought that was just so charming.
Oh, that's
Man.
awesome.
I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Big bands at Milky's.
I like it.
For that, no.
I just want to be. I want to be a big band leader. I think is the way to do. I want to do this.
The Polish Cadets used to have big band things going
Yes.
on. Where in Buffalo do we still have that? I don't know. We digress.
Beats the hell out of me.
Recording studios, so we got those.
Yes, we do.
Jay, you ever heard of the device called the cough drop?
I'm full of cough syrup right now.
No, but it's not what I'm talking about. It's a device.
Oh, okay.
It's a recording device. Actually, it's used in broadcasts. So if the guy's doing a live broadcast of a game, and all of a sudden he feels a cough come out, it's a mute button.
Oh yeah,
It's
absolutely.
called cough drop. It's a momentary switch.
I've never heard it called that. I like that.
Yeah, the cough drop.
That'll be next. The next board will have the cough drop.
I'll just do a sound effect for you. We'll just throw a little bomb on it.
There we go.
Oh.
I like it. So, do you have any kind of like unique recording techniques, like different things that you like to do that might be a little different than what they teach you in college? Ever done anything kind of like?
Oh gosh. I mean, that I use on a regular basis.
You don't have to use it on a regular basis.
I mean, yeah.
You probably got to MacGyver all kinds of situations on a regular basis.
That's for sure. You know, working in different studios too is like you don't know what you're going to run into. So sometimes you got to go, well, how can I make that work here? Where I'm used to doing it this way over here. I think the crazy things that we used to do with analog tape were a lot more exciting than the things I'm used to. I'm kind of now just taking basic principles and applying what I've been doing for years.
Sure.
And I usually start with a tried and true. It's when someone goes, okay, we want to try something different. Just miking the back of an amp cabinet isn't that much different. Though it can give you a totally different sound.
Sure.
Or using a room and miking more of the room and using that room as opposed to the close mic on a cabinet or on whatever instrument. But that's, none of that isn't stuff they don't teach you. It's just a matter of when do you use it, when do you decide to go with the quick and easy or go with, all right, let's really build something here and make it work. Because a lot of times it's like, can we get through this because we have this much to do in this session?
Sure.
And we got to get it done. And if we spend all day trying to dick around with this, let me dick around with it when I'm mixing because it's, you know what I mean? There's certain things I can go, that is something I'll deal with in the mix. There's other things that I don't ever want to have to deal with in the mix. And most of those things
Because if you don't get it right the first time, you
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
performance issues.
Right.
I'd rather not deal with those in the mix.
Sure.
Sure, you clean up vocal phrasing if you got like 5 people singing and some people cut off a little bit late or something.
Oh, yeah.
You clean stuff up. That's one thing. But to have to reinvent parts because someone didn't play their part right in the studio and I missed it or they missed it or we just didn't have time for it, that's when the compromise gets to be too great.
I agree. I've had that happen recently.
It happens.
It happens. It does. It's why you need to rehearse.
Preparation is always key.
I was that actually was going to lead me to my next question. What is your biggest advice? If I buy 8 hours of time in GCR, my band's coming in, I'm going to record with you. What should I do that most bands don't think of?
Okay. Well, I would hope that most bands would think to practice like a lot. Learn the song. But actually, here's the thing.
You'd be surprised.
Here's what you should do. If the songs if you're like, are not sure if your drummer is a solid drummer, put them up against a metronome and you'll find out. A click track can be a very difficult thing to play to
Absolutely.
if you don't practice to it. So if you're going to try to use one in the studio, practice to it all the time. At least the drummer has to.
Yes.
And then if everybody else plays to the drummer, you'll be fine, as long as the drummer can lock. Now, if the drummer's got impeccable time and doesn't really need a click, I don't force it on them.
Sure.
I always offer it. I say, would you like a click? Or if, let's say, a song has, this part of the song is at this tempo, and then we kind of do a fudge around here, and then we pick it back to original tempo. That can be
Those guys are the worst.
That can be tough to map out with a click track.
The worst.
It can be done, but it can be difficult and time-consuming.
Yeah, very time-consuming.
So really, to prepare, if you're gonna try to play to a click, then practice so one. Have to.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, if you're gonna break it down in the studio and try to break it down with, say, we're just gonna cut drums, bass, and guitar. We're not gonna do the keyboards and the vocals in the initial pass. Let's just practice that. Do a sectional rehearsal Just like you were, if you were in a band, they would say, okay, woodwinds, we're going to do a sectional, we're going to work on our parts here. The brass are going to go over there, they're going to work on their parts. We'll do the big combined rehearsal later.
Sure, yeah.
Same thing with any kind of pop band. You could break it down and say, I want to hear drums, bass, and guitar. I want to hear the vocal. Can you guys hold it together without hearing the vocal? Do you know the song well enough to play the song without hearing the vocal? You know, those kind of things. Now, typically in the studio, I prefer to get as many instruments tracking live as possible.
Sure.
Even if a couple of them are just guide tracks, like particularly the vocals. Always have a vocal guide track.
Yes.
But I always like to do the vocal later when I can really concentrate on it.
Yeah.
For many reasons, and the most important reason is that the vocal, if the vocal is bad, no one will ever listen to that song.
Yeah.
The vocal is the most relatable instrument to anybody, especially non-musicians who like music.
Sure.
The vocal is what probably resonates with them the most. I know that's a broad generalization, but I think that has to be the particular attention to detail.
Yeah.
Because that's the storyteller.
I like that.
There it goes.
I never thought of it that way.
Go off during that. What was the original question?
It was tips for people going to the studio.
Oh,
so
good.
yeah, we stayed on track.
Okay. Wow.
So we have to let you go, Fred.
Okay, well.
So if I listen to this and I want to work with you at GCR Studio, what is the best way? GCR Audio?
Yes.
What is the best way to contact you?
You can contact me at my email.
Sure.
And that's Fred.Betschen, BETSCHEN.
I had it right.
At Gmail.
Cool. So yeah, no, I'll say, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in here was because it was really, you were so easy to work with in the studio. It was really nice and laid back. I know, when John mentioned he was going, I'm like, I have an open schedule. You want me to come out and hang out? I think it's good to have that extra like friend in the room, especially if it's just you and the engineer.
Yeah.
And but it was really laid back, and like I don't with you there, I don't feel like I really even needed to be there. Like you had the room, like you had every.
But then who would have held the bass drum?
That is true. Wait, you don't have interns for that?
Hey, come on! I've tried to give my interns better opportunities than holding bass drums.
Hold the bass drum. Lest you go file again.
Exactly.
I think my one regret is that I didn't have you take pictures of me holding the bass drum. That is what I really want.
No, you're right. Those unique moments are the things I should capture, because I wish that I had gotten pictures of a lot of things that happened in the studios back in the 80s and 90s. You wouldn't believe some of this. Well, that'll be another podcast for another day.
I like this. Excellent. Well, Fred, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Everyone, you have his Gmail. Reach out to him. He does great work. And I had been in GCR, but I've never actually worked in GCR before that. It's just so.
It's a super
nice.
beautiful studio.
I've worked in other places recently that I'm not going to name, and not that they're horrible or anything, but wearing a mask the whole time when you're recording I'm heat averse, and it's not necessarily comfortable for me. I remember having to go out and get breaths at some other studios, but when I was at GCR, I actually found it extremely comfortable. Like
even when you were wearing a mask.
Yeah, even when I was wearing a mask.
It's a big room. There's a lot of space. So, I mean, the one good thing about social distancing and recording studios is that that's something we've been trying to do anyways. You're always trying to isolate the musicians from each other physically anyway, so that's not that different than it's been.
So, so no, I thought it was definitely one of the more comfortable studios I've been in a while. So I think that's worth noting, because I think if you're not comfortable, you can tell.
Oh yeah,
you can tell everything sounds stiff.
Yep.
All right, Fred. Thank you for coming on. We are going to play a song. It's called "Rise" by Steve Balesteri. He was one of the week 4 performers for Band Together Buffalo. This was actually the song he had submitted. I asked for it first, though, just so we know here. Band Together Buffalo steals my ideas. All right, and we'll be right back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast. I'm going to pound the table again on WesternNewYorkMusic.com.
It hasn't been an easy road here. Had to push past the pain. Had to conquer my fears and get out of my own way. Sometimes I get down on myself and feel so confused, but I had to keep going like I had nothing to lose. Gotta rise up, dust myself off, find my way anytime I got lost. Put in the work, I paid my dues. Here I am and I got plenty to prove. It's my time, my chance, make the most of it. You can take that bet. It's my day, my moment. Gotta grab hold hold, I gotta hold it, gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up. I know where I'm going, I know where I'm about to be. I'm done looking backwards, nothing can stop me. Gotta rise up, dust myself off, find my way anytime I got lost. Put in the work, I paid my dues. Here I am and I got plenty to prove. It's my time, my chance, make the most of it. You can take that bet. It's my day, my moment. Gotta grab hold, I gotta hold it. Gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up. Climbing up to new heights, like a shooting star in the night sky. Climbing up to new heights, like a shooting star in the night sky. Climbing up to new heights, like a shooting star in the night sky. Climbing up to new heights, like a shooting star, like a shooting star. Here I am, baby. My time, my chance, make the most of it. You can take that bet. It's my day, my moment. Gotta grab hold, I gotta hold it. Gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up, 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 up. I gotta rise up, 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 up.
And we're back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast. That was Rive by Steve Balesteri. A nice feel-good song to rise up out of the COVIDs with. And again, I want to thank Fred. I thought that was a great interview. And literally, like, as soon as we were done with the interview, we started talking to him, and he started, like, regaling us with a whole bunch of other interesting stories.
Isn't that always how it happens?
It's like, man, you buried the lead. So we're going to have him back again at some point.
Quite possibly.
So I look forward to that. He's a really great guy.
What a humble guy, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, if you're looking for someone to record with, produce a record, whatever, you can... Fred's a great guy to go with, and I definitely recommend him myself. So, next up, Cassidy, you wanted to talk about the new Ani DiFranco album. So, tell us.
Honestly, it might be one of my favorite things that I've listened to since the beginning of this year. There's a lot of politics, obviously, in the fuel of Ani DiFranco's passion and her songwriting. You know, a lot of the critical reviews say that this is a very political and personal album, Revolutionary Love, that came out in January.
Sure.
What I notice is that all of Ani's albums tend to be quite personal and political. I'm amazed with the heart that she shares with regard to her relationships always, also now with her activism. You know, continuing as a role model and as a strong women's voice, a Buffalo voice, but also in this album you hear how her New Orleans influence, it's coming up, it's infused this album with a lot of that jazz, almost, the je ne sais quoi, it's like a Parisian, like there's Latin beats and there's,
I feel like she's been sneaking that stuff in there here and there for a while now, but...
You know, it's such a properly stewed stew right now, her sound.
Yeah.
And her voice has, like, such a quality that is just her own. Just so unique.
Is the quality of the voice still holding up? Are you starting to hear those little tinges of old?
It's
or like,
almost like Eartha Kitt-ish. Like, I don't know. Like, she's got this, like, she's playing with the brushes. You know what I mean?
I like that.
When she's singing her songs.
Paint a
this
picture.
album too. Okay, so the Do or Die track from the album has a video where she's shaving her hair off.
Oh, I
don't know if you've seen this.
That video
but it brings me right back to the Righteous Babe. Let me see the muscles on the pose.
I shared that video with a couple friends of mine who I know like Ani DiFranco. I haven't talked to in years, and I'm like, this is a call to action. Like that's what that felt like to me. And
and it was so brave.
Yeah,
and I think for a woman to strip it down like that, like you're told that your hair is your beauty. You're told that you're, you know, that's a lot of the mask you put on, and she's just like willing to drop it right away. Also, this album, she was arrested for trespassing in the filming of the video, which I thought was just fantastic.
That is authentic.
She didn't break anything. Nobody got hurt.
In a time where you want your stars to be authentic, that is authenticity. I love that.
Right. And there was like national... She was interviewed on CBS morning shows and that kind of thing, which I like to see from my hometown hero.
Absolutely.
One of the questions that she was asked, they were specifically asking her whether she regrets her decision to be such a solo independent. She's going to manage her own business. She's not going to sign to a major label.
Sure.
And she's like, I've been asked that question so many times. And I always say no, but yeah, maybe. Because I don't know. This struck me. She said she didn't know whether she'd done her songs justice. When she goes back, she can go back and listen to Little Plastic Castle. She can go back and listen to, these 32 flavors and then some. These big Ani songs. And she's like, if I had the right ears. So that brings me into the conversation we had with Fred about needing to have these professional ears.
Absolutely.
That's its own level of talent and polish.
Yeah, no, right? I wouldn't look at like the Little Plastic Castles Ani and say like she did her songs wrong there.
No.
That album to me is brilliant.
Oh my God.
But like, I hate Untouchable Face is one of my favorite Ani songs. I hate the album version of that.
Yeah.
For me, like the Living in Clip version, the live version, that's the one you listen to. But the original version, it does feel indie in almost a bad way.
Right. Because you got to capture that energy too. But yeah, there's a fine that is its own art for sure. The recording process. So that brings us back to the full circle.
So now, does the album have any does it have any the Ani love songs, or is this like all politics?
No, I mean there are songs that touch. There's Bad Dream. There are songs that touch on marriage and the nuances of what happens during a marriage that is not so new. And I mean, there were parts of her Red Letter Year album that got very, very serious. About marriage and about that institution of marriage, And I think that she does this really nice thing where you sense her being almost at peace in her music. It's like this almost at peace. Like the edge, she's not angry anymore. She's not trying to bark or preach to anyone. It seems like these songs come from a mantra of what she wishes for herself, I'm gonna wish it to be by lyric.
That's beautiful.
I love it.
What's the name of the album again?
Revolutionary Love.
I heard the first single and I saw the video but I actually haven't heard any of it since. So I'm gonna be all over that.
No, and like I said, it's got a mix of so many wonderful sounds. So everything you would expect of Ani, she's done it again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to play one more track, and then we're going to get going. Aww. So, we're going to play a song. This is Looks So Good by Evan Anstey, who we've played a couple times on here. This is from a new album he released. It's called Alternates 1. He's basically created a new album featuring new versions of songs that he's recorded before. So
revisiting.
Yes.
I like it.
I kind of want to do that with some of the songs I've done and over the last many. I'm old, but yeah, I love that idea. So this was originally a song by a band called the Moon Hunters. It was recorded in 2013, and it was originally like a rock. I mean, it looks so good. It's a rock song, you know what I mean? But this is a kind of a reimagining as like a bluegrassy version of the song.
Interesting too for newer ears who didn't hear the original version. I'm gonna listen to this and have to go look at the original as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's night and day between the instrumentation.
Fun,
but it's a great song either way. So we are gonna listen to "Look So Good" by Evan Anstey here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast, and we'll be right back.
said it's true that there would be no lies. Just sad stories and simple goodbyes. You have it going, that girl, I'll tell you that. But I'm still there and no, I can't escape it. So tell me, why do you gotta look so, why do you gotta look so good? You draw me in, why do you gotta look so good? I can't keep away, why do you gotta look so good? I can't get away, why do you gotta look so good? Caught in a smile that outshines every light, making a dark night seem so very bright. But don't trick me, 'cause I know how you play. From June all the way to May. So tell me, why do you gotta look so, why do you gotta look so good? You draw me in, why do you gotta look so good? I can't keep away, why do you gotta look so good? I can't get away, why do you gotta look so good? Tell me, why you gotta look so, why you gotta look so good? You draw me in, why you gotta look so good? Tell me, why you gotta look so, why you gotta look so good? You draw me in, why you gotta look so good?
And we are back here on the Struggle is Real Buffalo Music Podcast. That was Look So Good by Evan Anstey. And that is all for episode 74.
Episode 74.
Episode 75.
That's next, and that sounds like a huge number.
Like, I think the 25th is the silver anniversary, and the 50th is the gold. What do you think 75th is?
Dead. Yeah. I mean, my gosh.
It's a burial plot, I think, is the best way to do it. If you're
Married
still
at 12.
if you're still alive, you probably need this soon. So we've got a lot of irons in the fire for our next coming episodes, though I don't have anything nailed down right now.
I'm as excited to find out as you. Like, there are definitely some people I've been talking to, some people you've been talking to.
Yeah, Erie Shores is going to be in an upcoming episode coming up. They're kind of like an emo rock band from more like the Fredonia area.
Erie with two E's, though.
Yes.
That's right.
And I've actually been talking with some of the people from the Fredonia record label called Hail Fredonia, and we're talking about having a Hail Fredonia episode.
That'd be
that
cool.
might be coming in the near future too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So
exciting.
Tune in for episode 75, which will release on April 1st. We're going to talk about our Patreon. We have a Patreon launching.
That's important.
And it's a Struggling Productions Patreon, and it has about 28 different tiers. And this is an experiment and just utter Patreon chaos. Like, some of these podcasts have like 2 or 3 tiers, but we're doing it for The Struggle is Real and WesternNewYorkMusic.com and the YouTube channel, because I don't, like, it seems kind of pointless to make 3 different Patreons. So I'm just going to try and or not. Maybe I'm wrong, but we've spent a lot of time working on it. We're going to see how it goes, and hopefully we'll find some stuff that people are into. I will just mention...
You got to offer good incentives. That's what it's about.
We have some good incentives. For $5, we are bringing back the Asking for the Pain segment, in which for $5, I will make fun of you on this podcast for a minute.
Okay, so a single $5 contribution earns you that 1 minute?
I'll make fun of you
ridicule?
for a minute. I will ridicule you. We did it to Astrabula when we tried this out about 20 or 30 episodes. He loved it, by the way. He thought it was hilarious. Every so often, I'll go back and find it and listen to it.
You got one fan.
And it was like, oh man, it's so brutal. But that's what he wanted. It is called Asking for the Hurt. So
right.
So we'll be talking about that stuff, and we'll have a guest of some variety and music by people who make music. And
it's always a good time.
Yeah, man. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. It's tough out there, and just be nice to everybody. Doesn't take anything, and keep on struggling. I thought you were gonna play a sound effect there.
I was gonna find a good one.